Warren Harding won his election by the largest popular vote up until that time. He would not have much time in office, however. He died of a heart attack while in San Francisco. He was very popular when he died. After his death, however, scandals and accusations of extramarital affairs arose. Harding was born on November 2nd, 1865, in Bloomington Grove, Ohio. He attended Ohio Central College and graduated in 1882. After college, he taught for a while, tried the insurance business, and then he bought a little paper in Marion, Ohio. On July 8th, 1891, Harding married Florence King. She was a divorcee with a child named Marshall. They had no children together, but later Harding had a child with a mistress named Nan Britton. Florence was a great asset to him. She helped him run his newspaper, and she ran it well. She also assisted him when he became president. Harding started to get involved in Ohio politics, supporting local candidates, and he was also a delegate to the state convention. Several times, however, he would end up in Battle Creek Sanitarium for fatigue and nervousness. But Harding was becoming a rising star in Ohio, and he made speeches across Ohio for state candidates. He also ran for the Ohio Senate in 1899 and won easily, and won again easily when he ran for re-election. Harding was accepting of the patronage system of the times, with political gifts from supporters. He wanted to run for governor, but the party talked him into running for lieutenant governor instead, and he easily won. Later, Harding tried to run for governor, but lost. In 1914, he ran for the U.S. Senate and easily won. When he was in the Senate, there was a Democratic president, and both houses were controlled by the Democrats. As a junior senator, the committees he was assigned to were not stellar, but he did earn respect from both sides of the aisle. Most people seemed to like him. He was asked to temporarily chair the Republican National Convention in 1916, and he delivered the keynote address. In the Senate, he supported World War I, but opposed the League of Nations. In 1920, Harding quietly put his name in for the president. There were several names in the race, including future presidents like Calvin Coolidge and Herbert Hoover. His campaign manager was sure that nobody was going to come out with a majority, and he was hoping to be a compromise candidate. Harding started gaining support at the convention, but nobody was receiving the majority. On the ninth ballot, Harding was gaining momentum. By the 10th, Harding won. The reason for the compromise, however, wasn't so noble. The delegates were concerned that their hotel room bills were piling up, so they just wanted to get the thing over with. They would pick Calvin Coolidge as his vice presidential running mate. Coolidge was at that time the governor of Massachusetts. During the campaign, he was sometimes made fun of by the Democratic newspapers. They said that he never had an original idea, and he was an Ohio politician of the second class. The Democrats nominated Governor James Cox of Ohio, and for vice president, they nominated Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was at that time the Secretary of the Navy. In the end, Harding received 404 electoral votes. He won 37 states and received 60.4% of the popular vote. Cox received 127 electoral votes, won 11 states, and only got 34.1% of the popular vote. Eugene Debs, the socialist candidate, received a few percentage points. He didn't want a large ceremony, but it turned out to be pretty big anyway. He preferred a small inauguration. Harding wanted nothing to do with the League of Nations or even a scaled-down version of it. The first order of business were loans, all the loans that we had given out to European nations for World War I. Many of those nations wanted them reduced. Many of those loans were altered just to give them more time to pay. The United Kingdom, for example, was allowed to repay their loans over 62 years with a little bit of a lower interest rate. It must be remembered when the Europeans fight wars, they're not like our wars, except maybe the Civil War. All their buildings are destroyed, their hospitals are destroyed, their houses are destroyed, the factories are destroyed. They literally have to rebuild entire towns. He made agreements with other countries for all of us to start reducing our military capacity. Harding criticized all the American intervention in Latin America. He pulled U.S. troops out of Cuba, but not other countries. And he did not renounce interventionism. He recognized Mexico, or re-recognized Mexico, after Wilson had withdrawn recognition after the 1910 revolution. Harding was faced with a post-war decline in the economy. He increased tariffs on agricultural products to protect the farmers. He reduced high taxes drastically, which fueled the economy and drastically increased the money flow into the treasury. And he supported highways, aviation, and the radio. Due to the automobile, the nation as a whole was changing. Roads were being built, hotels on these roads, restaurants to go with the hotels, fuel stations, auto repair station, all that goes along with a mobile society. Harding also wanted Congress to do something about aviation and radio communications. In 1922, Harding also had to face a bunch of strikes, especially by the railroads and the miners. He also began to release some political prisoners. There were many people thrown in prison during World War I because of their opposition to it. His popularity sort of followed the economy. As the economy declined, his popularity declined. Then, when the economy started rising, of course, his popularity started to rise. He began a tour around the country, and while he was in San Francisco, he suffered a heart attack. After his death, scandals emerged. He knew of the corruption within his administration and chose to hide it. He even allowed the head of the Veterans Affairs Bureau, Charles Forbes, to flee to Europe. Another cabinet minister would go to prison as well for accepting bribes for oil leases. It was called the Teapot Dome Scandal. It was called the Teapot Dome Scandal because where the oil was located, it was right by Teapot Rock in Wyoming. And this is just a few of the numerous scandals that came out after his death. What also came out is his 15-year relationship with Carrie Fulton Phillips and possibly an affair with Nan Britton, which that one led to him having a child. And then when those rumors start, well, it just starts to snowball. Then there gets rumors about everything. So his reputation was pretty much destroyed after his death. Harding wasn't financially corrupt himself. He just hid it. He knew about the corruption, but chose not to do anything about it. An example of this is his wealth. By the end of his wealth, the height of his wealth, actually, he was only worth about $1 million in today's money. If you like these videos, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks for listening.